News Rants, a podcast about news stories that could get a bit ranty. All views expressed on News Rants are those of myself and any contributors. Hello, and welcome to the latest News Rants, the podcast series where I take a news story and rant about it. This should be podcast number 7, and this one's going to be on about a story that came to my attention last night after I got back in from work while I was looking through Twitter from various news sources that are trustworthy. That would be Talk Radio, soon to be Talk TV, and GB News. Certainly not anything like the BBC or anything, because I don't trust the BBC as far as I could throw them. So basically the story is that there's a plan to put this country in line with EU regulations by fitting speed limiters to all brand new cars. All I'm going to say is this. No, we do not apply EU law in the United Kingdom. We left the EU. We left the EU under a democratic vote, democratic referendum, where the country decided it was going to leave the EU, even though the government made a bit of a hash of it. We've left the EU, we're not bound by EU law. Whatever happens in Brussels does not affect this country at all. So, it's a bad idea. Not happening, as far as I'm concerned. And Fairfuel UK have pretty much been furious at this as well, according to an article on the Mail Online, which I've had a look at. And, why fit speed limiters to cars? Why? That's just more of the nanny state, I suppose. Yeah. The nanny state getting involved and, Big Brother, that kind of thing. It's just not really ideal, not acceptable in this day and age. I mean, if you wanted to put speed limiters into cars, then this would have been probably done years ago while we were still in the EU, probably. But we're not in the EU. We don't have to abide by their rules. That's it. End of. So let's leave it at that, shall we? We do not copy what the EU is doing. I mean, we've still got a lot of EU laws on the books, but they're getting replaced by British law as time progresses. But this is a new thing from the EU. This isn't something that was already put out. This has happened since Brexit has happened and since the United Kingdom has left the European Union. So we're not bound by their rules and regulations anymore. We're free to choose our own laws. We shouldn't have to copy them. So whoever at the Transport Department came up with this idea should hang their head in shame. I'm not even sure who it was or whether it was even Grant Shapps himself. I don't know. Grant Shapps is the Transport Secretary at the time of filming this and recording this. Don't forget, you can watch us on YouTube. So, it's just a bit ridiculous. Brexit happened. We don't need to be bound by any more EU legislation. No, not at all. We need everything how we want it, like control of our borders, which they're working on now, thank the Lord. Control of the fishing rights, which has upset the French a lot. I'm not going to go into that one right now because that hasn't popped up in the news recently. Basically, control of all of where we get our fossil fuels from and our electricity and gas from, preferably domestically, considering the situation. So, this speed limiters rule. Why? Just why? People have enough sense to know not to break the speed limit because they know what will happen. They'll get pulled over, they'll get a speeding ticket and potentially points on their licence and a fine. So there you go. We don't need speed limiters in our cars. Now, I know some cars are built with that feature already in them. Mine is one of them, but that feature is actually turned off. It's just, all it does, it sounds an alarm if I go too fast. But it is disabled from the factory, and I have no intention of ever enabling it. So why? Why suggest this is a good idea? I mean, I would consider something maybe like limiting the speed limit of people who have just passed their driving tests between the ages of 17 and 25, because that's when you're more likely to actually have an accident. But not for anyone like me who's been driving for the best part of best part of 13 years. Is it? So I was a bit late to passing my driving test. So there we go. I've got 13 years experience. I know full well not to speed. There we go. I don't need the government saying, oh, you've got to have a limiter in your car. Because I'm not going to stand for that. And if they do introduce limiters and then they make it part of the MOT test to see if the thing's working, then yeah, that'll really annoy me. And there'll be another news rant about that if this actually comes to fruition. Believe you me. Because I am not going to be happy about that if they actually do bring limiters in. But I am up in arms about it. Just like I'm up in arms about the petrol prices, but that's for another day. It's ridiculous. Why do this? Why is the state getting involved in the safety of people? Why are they doing it? I think National Highways are trying to use the fact that there's too much pollution on parts of their road networks. How is a speed limiter going to make a damn difference? It isn't. A car will keep putting out as much exhaust gases as it needs to, no matter what. No matter how hard you rev the engine. It's got to produce exhaust gases. End of. Stop kowtowing to the green terrorists of Extinction Rebellion, because I bet that's got something to do with it as well. But it's more the EU than anything else, and, you know, it's utterly ridiculous. And it needs to not happen. So, I am one of the many millions of motorists in this country who disagree with the idea of fitting speed limiters to cars, and also one of the many people in this country who supports Brexit of happening, and am proud that Brexit has happened. And, you know, I don't want EU red tape in this country anymore, because we're not part of the EU. The EU ends at the English Channel, right in the middle of it, where the border between the UK and France is. You know. So there we go. No to EU red tape, no to speed limiters in cars, and absolutely no to bowing to pressure from the green terrorists of Extinction Rebellion, because I am pretty sure that's got something to do with this as well, because from what I've read, the National Highways are saying far too much pollution on parts of their road network. You know, the vast majority of the National Highways road network is, well, in the middle of nowhere. It's not near any major towns or cities. I mean, you've got the M25 going around London, which you can't really move on that half the time, from my experience. You got the M60 going around Manchester. Yeah, that's not really like in the middle of a city or a town. The only motorway I know of that goes through a city is the Central Motorway in Newcastle, and that's not a very long motorway. So there you go. I'm not sure where National Highways are getting their figures from. Anyway, speed limiters are not a brilliant idea. I've got enough sense to know not to break the speed limit. I know I'll get pulled over by the police if the police actually do their job, because I have no confidence of the police doing their job at all. And yes, I know I'll get either points on my licence and a fine, or be sent on a speed awareness course. Either way, that's punishment for speeding. You know not to do it. So, you know, I have the good grace to know not to speed. I don't drive a flash expensive car, because I can't afford a flash expensive car, especially with the job I do and the amount of wear and tear it'll get. So there you go. I don't drive around in anything expensive. I don't show off, and even if I had something like that, I wouldn't show off, because I'm not that kind of person. The only time I'd drive fast is round a racetrack. That's the only time I'd do it. Because that's the place for driving fast. and at speeds that you wouldn't be permitted to do on a road. So there you go. Speed limiters are a bad idea. Kill the luxury car market off. It's EU red tape impinging on a non-EU state, which is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and also all the little islands that surround it. And there's an FYI to these morons. There's no speed limit on the Isle of Man. Bet you didn't know that. Anyway. This was News Rants number 7. Yeah, we're starting to pile them out now. News Rants number 7 on the speed limiter idea that's based on an EU ruling that the government wants to impose on us, that I think is an absolutely terrible idea. And it is. So, don't forget, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. You can watch the show on YouTube. Just search for News Rants. It's 2 separate words, by the way, just in case. And you can follow us on Twitter at NewsRants2022, where I tend to, at the moment I've been ripping Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil new ones quite a lot, but they have not taken the bait. So I suppose they're not interested in what I've got to say. They don't want to debate. But But I also tweet other things on there as well, as you will see when you have a look, which all somehow tie in with either podcasts I've released or just other general news stories that pop up now and again from the trusted sources, nothing from the untrusted sources, which all the left-wing media, which I do not trust at all, because I don't trust anything from the left, as you probably gathered. So, I hope you enjoyed this latest edition of News Rants. This is one of the shorter ones by the looks of the recording timer in front of me. And I hope to catch you in the next one, and hopefully they won't start fitting speed limiters to people's cars. Well, they better not. So, you can of course. One last thing, you can also buy me a coffee. If you want to buy me a coffee, because I drink quite a fair bit of coffee at the moment. I used to have a preference for tea, but I actually drink quite a fair bit of coffee. So, if you want to buy me a coffee, what you can do is you can go on to, when I find it, there we are. If you go to buymeacoffee.com/PaulMcGee1B, and you can buy me a coffee. And that'll keep me going and ranting. Because, after all, I need the coffee to do the rants. Right, thanks for listening to, or watching, News Rants 7 on the idea that we should have speed limiters in cars based on an EU regulation. Not for me, thank you. Catch you in the next one.